Okay, and then the last thing is PSRs, or predictive state representations.
Yes, indeed. And the upshot of the PSR idea was what?
Well, that rather than thinking about states, which might not even exist, and even if they do exist, you never know where you're in them or not. So really, they don't exist in some very important, insane potato sort of way. Um, what does make sense to think about is whether there are specific tests that you could take that would then predict what you're likely to observe, and that in some sense that's a very satisfying way of thinking about the world. That I need to kind of keep track of. Well, if I were to do certain things now, what would happen? And that was kind of the push for sort of PSRs. And insofar as you prefer that kind of way of thinking about the world, the nice thing is that PSRs can represent any POMDP, and so they're equivalent.
Right, except maybe more palatable philosophically or so forth. Certainly Rich Sutton was pushing people in the direction of this representation for that reason. There's a kind of philosophical stance that says, am I sick? Well, what does it mean to be sick? It means that I, could be dead tomorrow. I could be stuck in bed tomorrow. I could be running a fever. It's like there's a bunch of observable things that are a function of what the current state is. And so it might be useful to talk about things in terms of what those predictions are as opposed to positing some kind of magical internal state.
Well, this makes sense, right? Because the only usefulness, if you go back to that, and we talked about this on our last machine learning course, in some sense, the only usefulness of a state is what it allows you to predict about what's going to happen next, little made up objects. So the only reason it's worthwhile even recognizing something as a state is it allows me to distinguish between something else that might be important later.
So another one of our, universal contradictory truths is that states and predictors are kind of the same thing.
Yeah, all things are the same.
Excellent. All right, so I think that's the last lesson that I was doing by myself. I think I'm going to turn it over to you for the next one.
Well, I will point out that you've done none of this by yourself, Mike. We've done this together.
That's fair.
All right, well, with that, I guess we should say goodbye.
All right, see you next time.
Bye.